Today with Erik Jones, driver of the number 77 Toyota for Furniture Row Racing. Erik, not the result you definitely wanted last week at Richmond. What's it like to come to Talladega with a chance just to get everything off to a clean slate, good start, and get yourself back on track?
Well, you always want to have a good rebound after a bad weekend, especially like we had at Richmond. I thought we had a good car and a good shot to go run up front. Once the race started, unfortunately, we didn't get the opportunity to even try. So it's not the way we wanted it to go. But coming back to Talladega, it's a little bit tough. It's kind of a wild card track. It's tough at times to really get a good result. But hopefully this will be a good day or a good weekend for us, and we'll get a strong finish and get the season heading back in a positive direction.
Okay. We're going to open the floor up for questions. If you have a question for Erik, raise your hand. We'll get a wireless mic to you. We'll start with Jeff Gluck and come over here to Chase.
Erik, Jeff Gluck from jeffgluck.com. I'm just wondering how you rebound from a week like that. You were talking about how you want to move on, but how do you, you go home, does it eat you up all week? Like, how do you put it behind you?
A guy told me a long time ago that I don't remember where I was. I was really frustrated about a race and, was kind of beating myself up. And he said, if you're going to be a race car driver for a long time, you're going to have a short memory. And I've always tried to remember that, as much as it kind of eats at you and burns away. I try to let it, sit there for a day, and it kind of bums me out. But after that, I just try to move on and look forward to the next week. And I've tried to do that this week. It seems like as busy as I've been, it's been a slow week for some reason, just trying to get back to the racetrack and just anxious to get here and get out there. But, you just got to focus on the positives and know that we've had a fast race car, pretty much every week we come to the track, and we just need to go out and just keep doing what we're doing, and the finishes will eventually start to come with that. I was trying to remember, if I remember right, I think it was Billy Venturini. I was driving his ARCA car at the time, and this was 2012 maybe, something like that.
We'll go here to Chase, to Caleb, and then to Bob.
Chase Wellman, FoxSports.com. Erik, as you probably know, NASCAR declared Joey Logano's win last week encumbered. It's the first time we've seen that. He loses playoff points as far as like somebody winning the race, but it retains the win. What are your thoughts on the encumbered win rule?
Well, I think NASCAR has been trying to come up, with a way to better penalize or enforce rules and infractions. In the past, obviously points penalties were enough, as much as points mattered. And then once the playoff system came around, the points really kind of got eliminated, and the race wins were so important that people were willing to push the issue more to get those race wins. And, obviously the fines are big, but, the big teams are able to, absorb those fines. So I think this is the best way they've come up with to really try to discourage anything. I don't think the 22 is necessarily trying to break the rules. I think they were just pushing the limits like we all are and went a little bit too far. But I think this is the best way that we've had so far. I don't think you can really take wins away at this level that I think will help enforce it.
Go to Caleb, then to Bob.
Caleb Whistler, Speedway Digest. We're 25% of the way through the season. How would you assess your season so far, and where do you want to see yourself in the next 75% of the season?
Well, I guess I wish through the first part of the season we would just had more results. I think we've ran a lot better than what we've really finished, which is, disappointing and unfortunate in a way, but knowing that we showed up at the race every week, and I can only point at a couple races where I didn't really feel like we should have ran in the top 10. Just, circumstances and the way these races have kind of played out at the end of them, it just hasn't been in the cards for us. So, I think beyond that, as the season goes on, we just want to keep working on executing better at the end of the races, getting these finishes and running up front. And, honestly feel like we keep bringing these fast race cars to the track. One of these weeks, it's just going to kind of click for us, and we're just going to be running up front and have a good shot at the win. I thought Bristol was kind of going to be that day, but it seems as things have gone, we just haven't had the tides been falling in our favor.
Go to Bob, then to Kelly, then to Kenny.
Bob Pockers, ESPN. Most of the recent plate races have been won by guys who have at least 3, 4, 5 years experience. Is there any of those guys, any of the veterans that you've followed on a plate track that you feel like you've learned the most?
Well, I've watched a lot of them on video. I followed some of them at Daytona and got a chance to see a little bit what they were doing. But, you know, I've been saying all week, you kind of tell yourself that plate racing is all luck and it's out of your control. But you see the same guys here the last 2 years really going up front and winning these races. So obviously there's a little more to it than that. And I've been trying to learn more about it and figure it out. Obviously at the Cup level, it's kind of a totally different ball game than what I think the Xfinity cars were, especially when I was running them there a few years ago. It was all tandem draft and trying to push the limit on that as much as you could. So just a big change and a new learning process for me. So just keep watching the video and seeing, you know, how they're getting up there and how they're staying up there.
Go Kelly, Kenny, and then Jordan.
Kelly Crandall, Racer.com. Erik, with how upset you were last week, you kept mentioning you wish there was a little bit more patience because you guys were 3 wide on the first lap. Do you feel the need to maybe go talk to Casey Kane and other drivers, just kind of get an idea of what was going on there, or is it just kind of done and over with at this point?
Me and Casey talked. He talked to me right after the race. He got a hold of me, and, you know, that's as much as you can really do. Obviously, it's not a situation that's comfortable for either driver. You know, you don't want to really have to have that discussion, but, you know, it was nice and very forward of Casey to do that. It's just unfortunate. You know, he said that he made a mistake, and, you know, it's going to happen. It's racing, but it's just frustrating. It was lap 1. You know, it's still kind of frustrating to think about that. You know, it's 400 lap race. We got plenty of time, and just to get taken out on lap 1 is, you know, really the most frustrating thing you can have in a race. It's kind of the first time I've had that, especially at this level, and you know, it's just a bummer. So you just got to kind of move on at this point.
Kenny, then Jordan, then Lee.
Kenny Bruce with NASCAR.com. Erik, you're 20 years old. You're in your first full season in Cup. Does it seem kind of strange to you sometimes to be sitting up there talking about, yeah, if we're in the right position, we think we can get a win?
Yeah, a little bit. You know, you kind of look at the last few years and the guys that have come through the series and how hard it is to get a win in your first year in this day and age. And, you know, to be as fast as we are some of these weekends has been surprising and encouraging at the same time. You know, it's definitely a little bit different than maybe I thought it would be, but it's been nice to have that speed. And I would say this early on in the year, it's surprising, but, you know, I think we just got to keep doing what we're doing, and I truly believe that at some point throughout the rest of the season, we're going to have, you know, a shot to win one of these races.
Jordan?
Jordan Bianchi, SB Nation. Erik, last week Denny Hamlin finished in the top 5, and even afterward he said, you know, the Gibbs cars were struggling on intermediate tracks. Furniture Row has had good speed this year on the intermediate tracks. Wondering if you guys are working closer with them, or they've come to you and you guys have, you know, exchanged information, or what they're doing to try to pick your brain.
Yeah, it goes both ways. You know, I mean, we've leaned on JGR, and JGR has leaned on us, obviously, this year a little bit more than maybe past. Furniture Row's just done a good job of being fast every week and having really good race cars. I feel like we've been some of the best Toyotas every week. Been right up there, right up front still. So they have leaned on us some and trying to, you know, bridge that gap. And like I said, you know, it goes both ways. I think it's nice to have another team that you can kind of look over on and kind of compare a little bit, other than just having the, you know, Martin and I to compare on. So it's not, you know, a true teammate thing, but it's just nice to have that there available to you.
Lee?
Lee Spencer, Motorsport.com. Kyle Larson was on Sirius XM yesterday and said you were the life of the party up in New York. You say you don't bring your friends to the racetrack, and I respect that because I think it's old school. You don't want to have relationships with guys that you're trying to kick their ass on Sunday. But now that you've had a little time to spend in Cup, are you more comfortable around those guys? Do you see the balance of at least having a cordial relationship with them as opposed to, you know, just keeping the blinders on when you show up at the racetrack?
Well, you know, when I say I bring my friends to the racetrack, that's true to a sense, but, you know, I'm not just going to ignore these guys. You know, I still talk to them and still have a relationship with them. I know all the guys, you know, so, you know, if we're around and hanging out, yeah, I mean, we're gonna hang out and have fun. So, it just goes both ways. When I say I bring my friends to the racetrack, it's more of a sense that, you know, when we're out on the track racing, I don't look at any of the guys as my buddy or somebody I'm going to go hang out with tomorrow night and So it's kind of hard to explain in a way, but you're still cordial with the guys. You're not gonna just blow them off for no reason more than any sense. You're trying to be, the tough guy out there.
And just to follow up real quick on that, do you understand the necessity for the younger drivers to kind of lead the way to that next generation who's going to build NASCAR? We have a whole generation of guys that could give it up, and we're kind of relying on you to get the message out.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of our job. I feel like if we're going to be here for a long time, we have a pretty big or tall order in front of us of bridging that gap, I feel like, and we have a pretty big opportunity to do it as well. So it's it's a big role to take on. It's one that's going to be needing to be filled with Dale retiring and a lot of our top drivers getting up there and getting older and I'm sure thinking about retirement at some point. So I feel that. I feel the need to want to do it. I want to be able to help in any way I can on that front. I'm not exactly sure of the way to do it yet. I just haven't been around long enough to really bridge that gap and learn what is going to be wanted or needed out of us. But, I think it's definitely there for us, and we definitely feel that need and that pressure to want to be a part of that.
Well, Erik, thanks for taking the time to join us today, and good luck this weekend.
All right, thanks, man.
Yeah.